To go ahead and get to the committee reports, the updates. So first I'll call Jeff Berman, who's the chair of the Skokie Boys Community Safety Committee.
Just to give you a quick update, our group is first of all fairly large. As a lot of our members of the Skokie Voice are extremely interested, as you can imagine, in neighborhood safety, and we have about 27 members in our group, and we met several different times already. And one of our first tasks, besides changing our name, was to come up with the mission, goals, and objectives of our subcommittee, or our committee, I should say. And so I'm going to take a few minutes, and I'm going to just kind of walk through that and share it with you. And of course, if you have any comments or questions about any of the mission, the goals, and objectives, I'm happy to address them now, or you can catch me later. But basically, the mission statement of the organization, or of the committee, of the Community Safety Committee, is to encourage and be a source for two-way communications between Skokie residents and village public safety officials, in particular the Skokie Police Department. Establish a working relationship with the police department will also enable the committee to act as a liaison between the police and the village of Skokie elected and other officials. To this end, we've had 2 meetings already with the Skokie Police Department. They've been terrific meetings trying to open dialogue and communications, and also talking about data and research that we want to do that I'll get into in a few minutes longer. Deputy Chief Scarpelli, who I believe is still here back there, was very warm and has been very sharing and open with everything, and as well as Chief Silverberg. And I think everybody knows that, is it May 9th now, I heard, right? Was that the official day? Deputy Chief will soon be Chief Scarpelli, so congratulations. The goals of our committee, as we've decided, are developed and had approved by the board, was to develop a strong working relationship with senior management and rank and file officers of the Skokie Police Department, to work with the Skokie Police Department to improve communication on public safety issues, to work with the department to develop ways that residents can serve as extensions of the eyes and the ears of the department, and to act as liaison between public safety officials and village officials. Our objectives are to hold regular meetings with public safety officials, to develop and maintain mechanisms to communicate public safety information to Skokie residents and business owners' concerns to police officials, to assist in the police department increasing resident participation in public safety efforts, including tip lines and neighborhood watch groups, to liaise with the department and school districts in gang education efforts, to work with the Skokie Park District to improve safety conditions in the park, to work with village officials and school district officials to create and staff youth drop-in homework assistance centers. Now, all of these are fairly lofty and require an awful lot of work and an awful lot of manpower. And as you can imagine, we've taken 2 or 3 meetings to get these finalized, so now comes the time to implement them. And I mentioned we have 26 people, 25, 26 people in our group. Obviously, we need a lot more. If anyone is interested, I'd be happy to talk with you about it. But in order to conquer or tackle all these goals and objectives, we've decided to divide ourselves into a variety of subcommittees. So we have neighborhood safety, school safety, parks and recreation, business community outreach, and research. And just to tell you that we need more manpower, we've been able to staff so far, if you will, with volunteers, the research committee, and I'll talk a little bit about that more in a minute, and also in the process of putting together the business community outreach subcommittee, and we have a person that's going to chair that subcommittee, and also going to be working with economic development, hopefully, on some of the issues relative to that. But anybody who would like to volunteer, we'd appreciate it. With regards to the research committee, we've actually divided that subcommittee into 2 separate sections. One's working on crime statistics, and we have a chairperson for that. Marta is around somewhere. Will you stand up, Marta? And Marta is going to be taking over that piece of the committee. And we're working basically, and the department is working right now with us to develop some data reports that we've requested. We gave them a list of data sets that we're looking for so that we can crunch some of the numbers, and in the process of getting that. And also, Deputy Chief Scarpelli also gave us the last 5 years of reports from the department that we just recently received and are going through. And then the second of it, part of our research committee is going to be on staffing and manpower. And Seymour, is taking the control of that subcommittee, so we thank them.
We're going to hear from the Skokie Voice Housing Committee. Julie Nomiak is the chair.
So far, we have a committee of 12 volunteers who are owners or tenants of residential single-family or multifamily homes. We've met and discussed a variety of issues that are concerning to us and to residents of Skokie. Topics include property maintenance standards, fair housing, Section 8 tenancy, absentee landlords, tenant concerns, vacant and foreclosed properties, and lack of responsiveness from Village regarding complaints from residents as to the issues above. We recently invited 2 Village officials to join us at our meeting, Terry O'Lean, who is the Supervisor of Property Standards, and Peter Pyer, the Director of Community Development. We submitted questions to these 2 officials in advance in order to have a vigorous discussion and get some clarification for issues raised in those questions. They shared statistics with regard to property foreclosures and how the Village is working with banks to care for those distressed properties. 2010 showed 655 properties in foreclosure, up 23% from 540 reported in 2009. We also received a copy of the Nuisance Intervention Prevention Amendment, which modified the Village Code. Most residents don't even know what this is, and they really need to be aware of what this ordinance says. This amendment places on landlords a higher degree of responsibility for tenant behavior that adversely affects neighbors. We raised the issue regarding use of homes for other than single-family living, in other words, over occupancy. We were told the Village Code allows for 50 square feet of bedroom space per person, and no legal bedroom space is allowed in basements. We insisted upon better communications and responsiveness between the Village and residents when complaints are made. It seems like our concerns were heard that evening and that the Village intends to be more responsive to the issues of concern that were raised.
Next, we're going to hear from the Skokie Voice Economic Development Chair, and that's Elise Berman.
Oh my gosh, there's so many of you out there. How exciting. I've grown up in Skokie all but 4 years, and I have wonderful memories of hopping on that brown bus. I don't know if any of you have grown up in Skokie. Anybody? Come on, let's hear it. Do you remember the brown bus that took you from Skokie Boulevard all the way to downtown Skokie? I rode it every Saturday with my girlfriends to go to downtown Skokie. And first we'd stop in at Desiree for lunch, or Pat's, either one of them. Those were the hot spots there. And then we'd spend hours in Betty's of Winnetka, remember that place? And then we'd go to the Skokie Theater and trash the Skokie Theater with popcorn. So when I was asked to chair the Economic Development Committee, I thought this was our chance to bring breath back into downtown Skokie and Dempster Street. Has anybody been on Dempster Street and seen on the building the old logos of Pagliacci's? Wasn't it the greatest pizza place around? Well, except now we've got Village Inn, right? Okay. So the big question that we have is, how do we breathe life back into downtown Skokie? Skokie was magical for me growing up, and I would love to see that happen one more time. So it's an education process for us to learn what the Village needs to bring back downtown Skokie and Dempster Street. So our mission with the Economic Development Committee we are going to serve as the conduit to bring the residents closer to the Village, the township, the independent merchants of downtown Skokie, which is called IMODs, and the business community by advocating fiscal responsibility, new business development, and expansion within the Village. So our goals is to make suggestions, identify, and present opportunities and challenge decisions. And this can be accomplished by cultivating relationships with the appropriate Village officials. So what we have done so far with the Economic Development Committee, we have met with Tom Thompson, who is the Director of the Economic Development with the Village of Skokie, Ann Tennis, who is the Director of Marketing for the Village of Skokie, Randy Miles, and Dick Wittry from IMODs to gain a better handle of what is actually going on in downtown Skokie and what's being pursued to bring life back. But our biggest challenge which we are facing as Economic Development Committee is to develop a mechanism to openly communicate and convey to the residents what is happening in our village. So one way is to become vigilant, become involved in what changes. Because change comes slowly, but it's needed, and you have to be involved in order to make this change. So your involvement can be as simple as the next time that you dine out, make sure it's a restaurant in downtown Skokie. Downtown Skokie is... There are great restaurants in downtown Skokie. Don't make that trip to Evanston. If you're going to Menards or Lowe's, turn the car around and venture down to the local Ace Hardware in downtown Skokie, or the paint store. Because it's a catch-22, if we don't patronize these stores now, we will never see a Starbucks, or those cute boutiques that you see in Highland Park, or for that matter, a Downtown with Focus. So get involved, get back to downtown Skokie. And once that happens, we're going to see development on Dempster and downtown. So thank you very much.
Skokie Voice, we've been busy. We've been really busy for since September, and I have to thank all of you, all the people that have joined forces, working together. We have made so many new acquaintances, and we all share the common goal of wanting this village, Skokie, to be the best suburb on the North Shore. No more moving, north. We're going to move to Skokie, okay? And we're going to make it #1. So next, we will go ahead. Bonnie Fell, our membership chair, is going to say a few words.
I just want to welcome everyone tonight and let every person who's sitting in their chair turn around to your neighbor and say, the power lies within us. You have the power. As Skokie, we have the power to make changes. And that's really what Skokie Voice is about, building a unified community. But we have to do it with everyone. So I'm going to give my pitch on all the different ways to join Skokie Voice. And what I'd like to ask everyone in this room is if each person in this room would ask one friend, one neighbor, that's it. And I'm not going to call you up to make sure you did it, so don't worry, to join Skokie Voice, to at least check it out. They can go directly to the website, and now you can pay on PayPal. It's been a great thing for us. We just started this week, and it's going fabulous, and it makes it very easy to join. If you are not a member and you're here tonight, the membership table is in the back. Make sure you stop by with $15. I'd love to see you. If you wonder why you should join, I've got posters around. We just kind of updated them on what we're doing. But we can only do it with everyone. And if you ask, why should I join? I get the emails anyways. We need your membership. We need numbers. The greater numbers we have, the more the mayor feels good to listen to us. That's just the cold, hard fact. So we want everyone to join because really what we're about is building community. So welcome everyone, and remember, everyone repeat after me, we are Skokie. Okay, ready? We are Skokie. All right, thanks a million.
So now we're going to get to the featured speakers of the evening. Mayor Van Duzen is going to answer those questions that we all submitted in advance, and Assistant Village Manager John Lockerbie is here to help him with that as the need arises. And I'm going to call up our board member, Sam Lewis, who is going to read the questions.
Our featured speaker tonight is Mayor Van Duzen.
It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to be here with you this evening. I look forward to the dialogue that we are going to continue. It's the village's purpose to continue meeting with your committees as well as with you as a unified body. I look forward to taking the questions this evening, giving you as complete an answer as I can. With me this evening, though, are some people from the village that I would like to introduce. But first, let me add my thanks to the Park District for making this evening's facility available. I think our Park District does one hell of a great job. So, thank you. Not that you need me to tell you that, but Last night, the Park District had before the village board its renovation of the Weber Center, the stadium. And wait until you see what they're going to do there. It's going to be truly wonderful. With me this evening from the village are members of our Board of Trustees, Trustee Large, Trustee Roberts, Trustee Bromberg, Trustee Shaw. Would the trustees Trustee Skokie asked me to extend to you her regrets. She got called to work this evening and wasn't able to be here. In addition to the elected officials, the village's Corporation Counsel, Pat Hanley, is with us. Deputy Chief Scarpelli, soon-to-be Chief Scarpelli, Terry O'Lane, who previously was referred to, Commander Lopez, and Ann Tennis. Ann is our Director of Marketing and Communications. It's wonderful to have the chance to share with you what the village is trying to accomplish. I'm going to address two subjects, and I'm going to try, I say try, putting me in front of a microphone isn't, I don't have the most self-discipline, so Jeff or Lisa, just raise your hand and say you're done. Usually when my wife comes with me, she sits in the back and she performs that public service. She wasn't able to be with me this evening, so one of you will have to cut me short. I want to talk about economic development a little bit, and then secondly, talk about what we're doing in the police department. First, in terms of economic development, we have been pursuing aggressive downtown development. There are 5 things in particular that we are doing. The first is we are in the construction phase of the Skokie Swift downtown station. The Swift is important because it will serve as the gateway to the Illinois Science and Technology Park. Forest City is currently investing $150 million in the Science Park. It's an employment center. We have 20 tenants in the park, 1,300 employees in the park at present. In spite of the economy, this last year we added 2 new tenants, both from Germany, and pharmaceutical research companies. We're also working on designing and next year building a bicycle path that will go from Oakton Street to Dempster. The idea being eventually going from Dempster northward and connecting with the bike paths that go all the way up to the Arboretum. We also have worked on creating an incentive program to bring restaurants to the downtown area. And I was particularly grateful to hear the promotion that was given on our restaurants. These are mom and pop restaurateurs. People like you and me, well, maybe not like me, but perhaps people like you who have had their ambition to go into the restaurant business. And they are staking, in many cases, their life's savings to do this. In the last year and a half, we have opened 5 new restaurants in addition to the mainstays, like the Carab, Village Inn, Tub Tim Thai. I ask you, when you do have the opportunity to go out for dinner, choose one of the downtown restaurants. Give them a chance. I think you're all well aware how successful Annie's has been. Well, Annie's has been successful because they produce a great product. They're welcoming to people. These other restaurateurs, the new in our village, do so likewise. We are hoping that we will have a couple new restaurants in the next year as well. This last year, Ann Tennis and her staff created a program in conjunction with the Skokie Chamber to promote the downtown restaurants called Dine Around. And basically, you would sign up for a small fee, and you would have the opportunity to go to each of the downtown restaurants. We expected 300 people. We wound up at 400, and we had to cut it off finally at about 425 people. Where do they come from? Well, we restricted it because we were experimenting. The tech park, employees of the library, the park district, the village, residents in the immediate area, members of the Chamber of Commerce. This next year, we're hoping we'll be able to expand on that. And we look forward to communicating these kinds of things to you so that you can sample the downtown restaurants. We also have purchased significant amounts of property in the downtown area. If you go north of Oakton Street along Lincoln, you'll see that we've purchased a lot of property. Last night, the Corporation Council placed before the village board for our consideration at our next meeting, finally, the purchase of the old cleaners that was right next to the bowling alley. Once we get that done, we will have a lot of consolidated property, and hopefully when the economy begins to turn around, we are going to be able to develop that entire area. A reference was made a little while ago to a Starbucks. We have approached Starbucks, Caribou, Pete's. If anybody can suggest any other coffee shops, let me know. We asked them, why aren't you in the downtown area? And they said, there aren't any people there. Who's going to walk into Starbucks or Caribou? So we said, people you want, we're going to get people for you. We got the Norwood on Dempster. We got the other projects up north. We are now working on bringing people. The restaurants will help us in pursuit of this. So we've been purchasing property there on West Dempster Street. You may have noticed, some of you in the last snowfall may have taken advantage of it. We've purchased significant property there. The block of property just east of the Skokie Swift is now in the village's possession. We also have purchased the property to the just immediately across from Kaufman's, just a little west of the McDonald's. That property finally has been purchased. That was not an easy one. And also, we now have, for consolidation, the old transmission shop and the old BP Amoco. What makes me feel particularly good is that we are now starting to get some hard questions from developers. Developers have been coming to us asking questions. What's the availability of the property? Recently, the village went to the National Shopping Center convention, and a developer came up to our village manager and said, I understand you've purchased property on Dempster Street. And Al said, yes, we have considerable amount of property. Said, you've done exactly the right thing. We don't want to have a third party involved. We would want to work with you directly. We now have some developers that have begun discussions with us. They're at various stages. I'm hopeful that they will begin to get into final dialogue with us on West Dempster Street. We've made progress there. If you go down toward Grosse Point Road in Dempster, that corner we've begun to develop. I know it was controversial. Some of you may not have agreed with the board's decision, but the Jewish funeral home is turning out to actually have been more important than perhaps even members of the village board at the time realized, because other developers are seeing construction and they're saying, this just might be the place for us to be. Old Orchard is now undergoing some subtle renovation. The old food court is being renovated. What may have escaped your notice is that 15 new stores have opened at Old Orchard in just the last year and a half. Lipin opened. First time in Illinois, in the Midwest, that they have opened a brick and mortar venue. Heretofore, Lipin has been basically a catalog and internet store. In spite of the economy, they're venturing out. Anthropology was a big get for us. It was not easy. We had significant competition to get anthropology. Zara, the same way. The food court, what used to be the food court, it's going to be a very interesting concept. It's going to be sort of a fresh food type of venue, kind of working off, if you will, the popularity that Maggiano's has had. Old Orchard has invested Westfield has invested significant money at Westfield in the village. Skokie Hospital, some of you may have noticed hopefully none of you have been there as a patient, but at least not serious. But if you've been by there, you may have noticed North Shore, got to get it right, North Shore University Health Systems is investing $150 million into that hospital. I suggest, if you get the opportunity, to get one of the recent editions of Cranes. It lays out where the future of the economy is per the recent census results. It's going to be in healthcare. And North Shore University Health Systems is preparing itself to compete in that venue. And the Skokie Hospital is going to be one of the important ones. We're also working with existing businesses, Topco, Command Transportation. Both significant businesses in the village are expanding. And we have reached out and we've helped them both expand. All of this bodes well because the village got news just not too long ago that not only did we have a Fitch AAA bond rating, we now have gotten a Moody's AAA bond rating. 6% or less of all units of government in the United States can boast having 2 AAA bond ratings. Why is that important? Why is that important? I've got 5 minutes. Lisa's giving me the hook. 5 minutes. I'm going to talk about the police department very briefly. We have a great police department. In fact, recently, not only has the department just recently received its accreditation, and Jeff, I don't know if they shared this with you or not, we just recently found out that they are being named a flagship accredited department, which means that it's being rated as one of the premier police departments in the entire country. And that's to the credit of all of you. We have a great department. They're great men and women. But it's because the village is willing to invest. We just opened a new police station. There's a question on that subject. I'm going to let Sam ask it, and then I'm going to talk further on this, because I'm very proud of what we've done there. But the importance is that we have been able to do this at a lower interest rate, saving the people of the village of Skokie $500,000 on the bond issue, simply because of our bond credit rating. And that's significant, because anytime we go out for any construction project, if it's bonded, we get the reduced interest rates, saving the taxpayers and all of you the money on that. We've also this last year introduced NIXO, which you can get on your phones or your computers, which will tell you what is going on, what crimes have taken place, where are they, what is being done. I'm pleased to tell you, and a year ago I was pretty nervous about this, as were all of you, that last year the 2010 residential burglary rate was down over 2009 and down over 2008. And I say I was nervous about a year ago because some of you probably remember in January and early February, we had a spike in residential home burglaries. Our police made 10 arrests starting in March and April. Throughout the year, they plummeted. If you've had a home burglary, this doesn't mean much to you because it's devastating. But for us, it's important because we are trying to stay vigilant. And I want to ask all of you, Jeff referred to it, think seriously about helping us. You are the eyes and ears. You know your neighborhoods better than anybody else. I take my dogs out for a walk, and I know my neighborhood. And so do all of you. And if you weren't interested, you wouldn't be here tonight. Join the Neighborhood Watch. And if you don't think it works, we have 181 blocks in the program now. Let me give you one example. And Chief, if I don't have the details entirely accurate, feel free. Last year, a woman was in her home and she saw somebody who was out of place in her neighborhood. Bear with me. She called her husband in Milwaukee. He was there in business. He, in turn, called the police. Indeed, that person not only was out of place, was committing a criminal act, was apprehended, was prosecuted. That was because somebody in the neighborhood saw it and reported it. It works. It doesn't mean that we're going to stop all crime, but it will help us apprehend, and there's nothing that prevents crime like prosecution. There's a reason why home burglaries went down. We prosecuted, we apprehended. So thank you very much. Sorry if I went over. Appreciate the opportunity and look forward to your questions.
Can snow be plowed on side streets so that it does not snow in and block parked cars?
That probably is the most frequently asked question of me, including my wife. I'm sorry to tell you that there really isn't very much that we can do. We have 175 miles of side street that we have to plow. And we don't have the equipment or, quite frankly, the time. Just for a moment, if you'll visualize, if we had to stop, we have 17,500 single-family homes in the village. Probably 3/4 have driveways, I would guess. You can imagine driving, stopping, picking up the plow, driving 8 feet, most driveways are about 8 feet or so, putting the plow down, going another 40 feet, picking the plow up. We'd never get the job done. snowed in my driveway 3 times this last event. After the second time, my wife and I were out, and she turns to me after we plowed in the third time, and she said, "Don't you know anybody?" Just at that moment, I'm not exaggerating, just at that moment, one of our trucks came by, and the fellow in the truck just waved. My wife said, "Great, let's get to work." I wish there was something we could do. If anybody could invent a plow where it could be done, you will be richer than Bill Gates or Warren Buffett combined. Every year at the American Association of Public Works Directors, this is the question that they ask, whether it's Minneapolis, Boston, New York, Chicago, anywhere. It's one of the most frequently asked questions. I wish I had a better answer for you, but in all honesty, we've thought about it. I don't know, I don't have an answer.
Can the village notify residents about when sidewalks will be plowed after a heavy snowfall so that residents don't try to shovel the walks themselves? And then a follow-up is, also when walks are plowed, the efficiency of the removal varies widely. Sometimes the sidewalks are cleared, other times up to 2 inches of snow remain on, or the sidewalk is missed altogether and the lawn gets plowed up. Can this be rectified?
Some of it can be. You're welcome. There are only 2 municipalities in northern Illinois. I would say all of Illinois, but I might give John a heart attack. I haven't been able to verify southern Illinois, but there are only 2 of us that do it. It is very difficult. We have 240 miles of sidewalk in the village. It is true. It is varied. It's got to do with the equipment. It's got to do with the snowfall. Some areas have deeper snow than others. Sometimes it's a heavy, sometimes it's a light snow. We do the best job we can. When there's 4 inches, we do them. We start with the schools. And we go through, some of you have seen those, we call them the bombardiers, a kind of a V plow. This last time, there was way too much snow. We finally, some of our equipment, quite frankly, broke down. We wound up using, what do you call them, the blowers, thank you, the snow blowers. They're very good. The only problem is they're slow as hell. That's the problem. The V plows, when we can use them, are good. Bear in mind that the equipment we use for sidewalks is much less powerful than the equipment we use for the streets. Sidewalks are shorter in length, and we need to use specialized equipment. The manager and I have talked about whether we don't need to investigate looking into some new sidewalk plowing equipment. I think we do. Some of the equipment we have is relatively old, and the manager is going to be looking into that. As far as notifying people, we do it on the website. It's difficult because we first do the streets, the residential streets, so that we can get the emergency vehicles down. You can get out, go to work, or do whatever what errands you might have. Then we do the alleys. We have, like I say, 70 miles of alleys that we do. This last snowfall, we got a center strip down every residential street within 12 hours. It then took us another 24 hours to get the alleys done. And then we had to go back and we had to redo the streets curb to curb, alternate side parking. I hope you weren't one of the 533 people who got ticketed, or 100 people who...
My wife is...
Okay, you saw that. It is important. The alternate side parking is crucial to us because we do need to get it curb to curb. It's not perfect, but it's important to get the emergency vehicles down, whether it's police or fire or whatever emergency vehicle. It's also important so we can get you out and back, and so people can get going. Because quite frankly, if you're out of your house and your car is gone, it's easier for us to plow. So,
well, in the effort of time, because I know time is running short, you did kind of touch on some of the other questions. So for the people who asked the other specific questions, hopefully they were answered. But there were a couple of other quick points, if I can make, about the snow removal, and then we can move to the next section. One was talking about seniors that have lived in the neighborhood for several years. Can the village provide winter weather services to assist them with shoveling out and cleaning their cars, moving their cars around?
Well, we don't have the money. I mean, it's a budget. I haven't. We're only now going through the current census data. Well, our population, by the way, went up 2.3%. We're one of the few suburbs, actually, that did increase. The problem is we do offer service through our Human Services Department, but according to the census of 2000, and John, correct me, you have a better, you're younger, your memory is considerably better than mine, but we had in a neighborhood of somewhere around 20% of the village population is in the 60 and above category. We have approximately, right now, 64,723 people, according to the new census. You can imagine just trying to figure out who are the seniors and how are we going to plow the streets, plow the sidewalks, plow the alleys, and then detail a crew to dig out these different addresses. First, I don't know where we would get the people. I mean, we'd have to hire extra people in the Public Works Department, and that is a whole different budget item. I don't know how we can provide that kind of service. It would be great. It would be wonderful. If you know somebody who is a senior and has a problem, I mean, a significant problem, please have them call the Human Services Department. We will do our best to be helpful, but with the other, I'm sorry, operationally and budgetary, I don't know how we could do it.
So moving on to the next section, which is primarily about the village and services, regulations, actions, communication, and finances. The first question is, when the contract for trash collection and waste management is up, does the village intend to look for a different provider?
We have 3 different recycling programs. We pick up our own, what they call wet garbage. We still do that. So I'm talking about recycling. That we contract out. One is the single-family residential. That contract is with Groot. We negotiated a 3-year contract with an option for 2 one-year extensions. We're negotiating with Groot on a 1-year extension at the moment. The second contract is with Viola, and this is for multi-family housing. That contract has a 1-year extension that has been concluded. And then the third is the commercial recycling. By the way, we're one of the few municipalities in the state of Illinois that has comprehensive recycling, meaning multi-family, single-family, and commercial. The commercial contract is with Viola. If I recall correctly, that is up in 2012. So that contract we won't, that will not be going out to bid for a couple years yet.
Okay. So the next question is, if a resident is putting an addition on their house, Do the plans have to be designed by an architect or engineer even if they meet village requirements and regulations?
By state statute, if a housing addition is being done in excess of $10,000, you need what they call an architect or construction engineer's stamp, which means it's got to be approved and submitted by an architect. So the answer is yes, you do. If it's over $10,000 in moat, I haven't seen many additions to houses that were under $10,000. So the answer to the question is yes, it's, we do that by state law.
Okay. And then one that I'm going to skip down and then I may come back up if time permits, but it says, according to the recently released 2010-2011 budget report, the Village of Skokie's outstanding debt is $81 million, which they're saying is taken from page 40 of that report. How does this compare to the projected revenues for 2010 and 2011? And then furthermore, will this debt burden require an increase in residential and business property taxes in the near future? And then can you commit today to no further increases in the village debt within the next 2 years?
I hope all of you,
this is the softball.
I hope all of you are awake by the time I'm done answering this. This is the kind of stuff I like. Such is my life. Our indebtedness, actually, it's not 81 million. You have to subtract 12 million from that. We floated the bonds for the library when it did its renovation. So 12 million of the 81 actually is the library, and the library is taking care of that indebtedness. We are one of the lowest indebted municipalities. I think we rank, according to the Cook County Treasurer, 17th out of, is it 240? Do you have that figure? 77th out of 483. As I say, we have two AAA bond ratings. In 5 years, we will have the Performing Arts Center indebtedness paid off. We will also have the indebtedness for the flood control program all paid off. So the 67, is it 67 or 68? No, the village indebtedness. 68. John is much better at this math than I am. We will greatly reduce that indebtedness. We do not have any plans of floating any major indebtedness, certainly over the next 2 years. If we did, it would be for a small sewer project, maybe like $1 or $2 million. We like, when we can, to pay for these projects cash on hand. Let me give you an example, your water bill. We have one of the lowest water rates in northern Illinois. When you get your water bill, it's for two things: what you used, plus a small amount for operations and maintenance. In other words, repair of the sewers. If we float a bond issue to repair the sewers, we generally do that as a general obligation bond. We're paying less than 8%. And the reason is we only go to debt to create something of value, tangible value. Police station, CTA station, flood control system. In other words, a physical commodity. We do not borrow to pay for pensions. We do not borrow to pay for salaries and operations. That is how the state of Illinois and the county got itself into so much trouble. So we're very, very conservative on our indebtedness. And if anybody wants, I'd be glad. I've got the report from the Cook County Treasurer, and I'd be glad to get a copy of it to you. Are you all awake still?
Yeah. There is one question about the trustees, the perception that they don't seem to answer snail mail from residents, and what can you do as mayor to improve communication between the trustees and residents? including making their email addresses more accessible?
The email addresses I'd be happy to share with anybody. Lisa, if you want, you can put it on your website. If you send a message to a village trustee through our info box, we get it to every trustee that business day. They get it. Each one has a village email address. You're welcome to use it. The trustees welcome your using it. They want that kind of communication. Sometimes if somebody sends a letter to the village, I will reply on behalf of the members of the village board. If it's a question about something that the board, policy that the board has settled, I sometimes will do that on behalf of the board. But we are in the midst of doing our 5-year marketing and communications plan. Every 5 years we do one of these. Ann Tennis is doing it. She has consulted with the various stakeholders in the village. And this is one of the subjects, in fact, that we are going to try and address and improve upon.
Okay. So moving on to police and crime, I'm going to kind of Larry King this question and put it straightforward. Why does Skokie need the new $30 million police station?
Good question, fair question. In the old police station, anybody, I don't know how many of you were ever in the station and got the opportunity to go outside, go into the more secure area. That building was originally constructed in 1957, rehabbed in 1985 with the idea that in 1995, we were told by the remodeler it would be for 10 years. We'd never be able to go beyond that. We did. We needed a new station. First, policing is different today than it was 20 years ago. Obviously, much different than it was in 1957. In 57, we had 50 people in our police force. Today, we have 144 on the police force, civilian as well as sworn uniformed personnel. 30,000 square feet was the old building. The new building is 60,000 square feet. With computers, we needed more space, and we needed the electrical outlet. We could not literally put in any more electricity in the old building. Our CSIs, if you will, literally were working out of a closet. I'm not exaggerating, a closet in a hallway. Our detectives could not interview somebody with any privacy. Our social worker could not interview anybody with privacy. It was overcrowded, it was outmoded, and the board made the decision that we would build a new station, but we would design it for 30 years. We're going to, as I said to the chief when he came to talk to me about it originally, I said, Chief, let's do it right, let's do it once. Now, we're not coming back in 10 years. That is what he has done. He set up a committee that went out and took a look at all of the other new police stations in the greater Cook County and Illinois area. Got some very good advice about what did others do that they shouldn't have done, or what do they wish they had done. Our charge to the chief was, do it once, do it right, which he has. And I would invite you, if you haven't had the chance, to go over, see Chief Scarpelli, and we'd be glad, Lisa, if you'd like, to arrange for Skokie Voice to take a tour. I mentioned in my prefatory remarks that we have a great, great police department. One way we're going to keep it great is by attracting the best. When we have an open position, we get upwards, for one position, we get upwards of 500 applications. We get very good people. We're going to continue to attract good people, and we're going to keep good people by giving them a good work atmosphere. We have done that with the new police station. They will get first-rate training. They will have the best equipment. We are going to have a state-of-the-art communication facility. And I think they deserve it. I think our village deserves it. And it's a police station for the 21st century.
Okay, the next question is, why didn't the village have a plan for the old police station before it was vacated and the police department was relocated? And then what are the current plans for the old building to date?
Good question. First, we actually are, in a small way, still using the old station. We still have the antenna there. We're working with trying to find a third party to enter into a partnership with us, so we can relocate that. John, as of a month ago, we still had some dispatch people. Are they still in the building? Sorry, I should have asked John this today. Okay, we still have dispatch people in the building that are working there. We don't have any specific plans at the moment. We asked an appraiser to study the building this last, I think it was the latter part of the summer. He appraised the value of the building at $2.2 million. It's a peculiar situation. We've never disposed of a police station before. So who wants a police station? When you think, we've got jail cells, we have a sally port, we have a communications center there, plus various other secured areas. We have a small public area there. Besides that, and when you look at it, you think, well, the building. But it's more than that. If you go to the east side, we've got a storage shed, plus parking there. And then you go to the west of the building and you'll see Niles Township. Naturally, you'll think, the township, boy, they've got plenty of parking. 3/4 of that parking is our police department's parking. It's not the township's parking. Although we don't ticket people from the township if they park there. But it's a huge piece of land, 30,000 square feet. We don't have specific plans at the moment. Skokie Voice has given us some suggestions through a survey that you took. We are waiting, hoping that the economy is going to turn around. The board hasn't decided, but we may ask a commercial realtor to take a look at it, market it, and see if there is a taste for a former police station in the market. We will share all of this as we get it. You can imagine we're eager to see if we can't develop that piece of property. It's as you probably are all aware, it's on what we call an arrowhead, a triangle, which makes it even more peculiar, if you will. But we are pursuing it, and if you know anybody who is interested, we had a fire station we closed, and believe it or not, somebody bought it because he wanted a fire station for it to be a single-family home. So these things do happen. He just called us and said, what's the asking price? We told him, and he said, I'll buy it. Strange.
All right, so the time is getting quickly short, so I'm going to move on to the CTA related. And you've kind of mentioned the status of the construction for the Skokie Swift at Oakton. So I'll move to the next question, which is, what is the status of plans to extend the Skokie Swift or CTA Yellow Line to Old Orchard? And then what is the Village of Skokie's current position on this issue?
There are no plans at the moment to extend the Swift. Quite frankly, the U.S. Department of Transportation has told all of what they call the legacy mass transit agencies across the country, don't look to us if you're going to extend any of your lines. We don't have the money. So I don't expect that the SWIFT is going to be extended. There's no money, even if there was an interest.
But is it officially off the table?
No, it's a CTA decision. And I'm not aware that they have officially taken it off the table, but they certainly have not been in touch with me or with the village staff about any plans to seek money to extend it. The CTA could not do it by itself. They would have to have funding from the federal government. And they have told me that they don't see that money coming through. And they were told that by Secretary LaHood.
So the next question is about car charging stations for electric vehicles.
Sure.
And that's clean energy is a big emerging sector. Are there any plans for some charging stations in Skokie?
They're not at the moment. It is something that I would be particularly interested in. You may be aware that the village, the CTA, and IGO have formed a partnership. We will have IGO at the downtown station. There is IGO at the Dempster Street station. I've been trying to find a site up north for IGO. For those of you who aren't aware, IGO is sort of a not-for-profit rental car company. If you are somebody who doesn't want to own a car, and because you use mass transit, but you need to rent a car for 4 hours to run errands or to go visit your brother or sister or something, and who wants to, you don't want to buy a car to do that kind of stuff. So you can rent from IGO, and they rent on an hourly basis. I met with them along with Al Rigoni, our village manager, and the library 2 years ago now. And we've now provided space for them. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to provide more space. On the electric car, sounds great, and I would love to see it. There are some technical problems that we need to think through before we do anything. I was told recently by a Ford dealer that some of the batteries in these cars need to be charged up to 10 to 12 to 15 hours. I don't know how we would do that at the Skokie Swift station. You'd have to be able to secure the electrical outlets. Also, I was told that there are differences in the batteries which might mean that you need a different type of electrical outlet. So these, frankly, are the kinds of things that the automotive industry is going to need to address, along with all of us. Because I'm very, very I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I grew up with cars. I'm very interested because before I came over this evening, Mark Zandi from I think Moody's was on. Boy, if you want to get depressed, he says that he wouldn't be surprised if by Memorial Day we're not at $4.50 or $5 a gallon of gas. We've got to get off. We got to get off it. As a society, I like the idea of providing for electrical car outlets wherever we can, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time to work through the technology and how do we do it. Are we open to it? Yes. And I would be more than happy to sit down with Rich Rodriguez at the CTA and discuss this subject with him. I talked with him on issues like IGO and other. He is very interested in this whole technology, as is the village. We are slowly converting the village fleet over to hybrids. I would like to see us begin, if we can, toward the electrical car. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay. So I hope that we could get at least 30 minutes for live questions. And so there's 5 questions left, and one I'm going to combine, 2 I'm going to combine, okay. And then there's kind of 3 on economic development. So the next section is low-income housing, and question is looking past and one is looking forward. How many Section 8 vouchers are in circulation for rental housing in Skokie, for seniors and non-seniors? And how has that number of vouchers increased over the last 5 years? And what is the village's projection for increases over the next 5 years?
We do not regulate Section 8 housing. That's the Housing Authority of Cook County. We are down. We are not up. 2006 was our high point. If I recall correctly, we were something like 475 units. Today, we are down. Do you have the exact, I think it was at 457 units? 435 units of Section 8 housing. Half of those are seniors, or for senior citizens. I do not project that we're going to have an increase. We have 6,000 rental units of housing in the village. So if you take 435 units out of 6,000, it's pretty small. So I do not project an increase. I don't regulate it, I don't run it, but I don't see that there's going to be an increase in Section 8 housing. We generally are somewhere like right now 430, 450, 470. I think 475 was the high water mark. That was 2006, and we've gone down since then.
Okay. So,
did I answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. If I don't, just say so.
So the last section of questions is about economic development, and there's 3 questions, and they all basically center around the same thing. What is the village doing to attract more businesses? And does that include the further use of eminent domain? And if so, in what ways are you going to use that?
Let me take up the eminent domain question. This is one of the most distasteful things I've ever been involved in. It's not pleasant. The publicity is dreadful. It's Big Brother versus the little guy. We use eminent domain only as a last resort. We've only used it a couple times since I've been on the village board. We have no plans for further eminent domain. When we are interested in purchasing property for economic development, we try to negotiate a sale that protects the rights of the property owners as well as the taxpayers. It's taken us, I think it's been 3 years of negotiations to finally, at least I don't want to prejudice how the village board is going to vote, but I suspect they're going to vote in favor of getting hold of the cleaners. On Dempster Street, we purchased the block. Well, all of the pieces of property we purchased on Dempster, we got at 50 to 40% below what the owners had told us they wanted 3 years ago. 40 to 50%. We've tried to take advantage of the market without using eminent domain. We have in a couple of cases. We do not foresee any plans to resort to eminent domain in the near future.
Are there things that you're thinking about to increase foot traffic, say a festival or something else that could just generate more buzz in downtown Skokie?
We are working with IMODs, and Elise, we welcome your participation in how we can generate foot traffic. As Dick Whittree will tell you, because he's been telling me for 20 years, the problem is Oakton. Oakton generates in the neighborhood of 25 to 30,000 cars per day. And the object of the county is get the cars through. Get them through going west, get them through going east. And that does not lend itself to foot traffic. Oakton is what we call a destination-specific place. You're going to go out to dinner, you want Italian, you're going to go to Ecclese. You want Thai, giving my pitch here, Tub Tim Thai, etc. It's not the kind of street that lends itself, as it presently is, to just strolling, like a French cafe-type area. We tried to think outside the box. We brought in a traffic engineer to take a look at Oakton and tell us, what do we need to do to develop foot traffic? And they did. They analyzed Oakton. They gave us some ideas that were very provocative. We had a couple very interesting village board meetings where the board entertained the ideas. And basically it was widen the sidewalks and narrow from Skokie Boulevard to Long Avenue, Oakton. So it would lend itself with the right amenities, etc., to foot traffic. That raises all kinds of questions for people who live in the immediate vicinity. Is this going to increase traffic on Main Street? What about the neighborhood in that general area, Warren Street, etc.? We are told by developers that on Oakton Street, if you want a major development, this is what you're going to have to do. So we are studying it, and we welcome any ideas that you have. We've met many occasions with IMODs. During the summer, the village and IMODs has sponsored classic car shows. The library sponsors concerts on the village green. We're open to any ideas that you have along those lines. Mike Reed mentioned in his remarks about the different festivals that the Park District sponsors, a lot of them right in this venue. And of course, we do the Backlot Bash every year in August. When it was first proposed by IMOD. I had an upset stomach. Just the thought of closing down Oakton Street. It had never been done before. And I thought, well, let's do it once. We're going to get a flood of complaints from the people in the neighborhood about traffic and so on. I am so glad that we did it and that we do it every year. I've only gotten 2 complaints in the years we've done it, and those were easily solvable problems. Our park district knows how to do that kind of thing. And the attendance has been really great. We've developed the concept that I'm hoping is going to help continue to produce more foot traffic in the downtown area. So if you have ideas, please feel free to share them with us, with the Park District, with the library. We have a really nice partnership with our stakeholders. I love working with the district. I love working with the library. And on this, I look forward to working with you on everything, but I look forward to getting your ideas on this subject as well.
The last question is about a person being concerned with the appearance of the village regarding how new commercial buildings blend in with older ones and how this affects the general appearance of the village. And they give as an example the intersection of Grosse Pointe and Dempster. They say it's a mismatched mess, is the quote. And what village codes and/or ordinances regulate this process, and how are they enforced?
I don't know if I would quite agree with that description. I think the new strip shopping center where Taboon is located, I think they did a very nice job. The problem with that particular intersection is we also have an office building on the southwest corner, and then on the southeast corner we have a rental car plus an older strip shopping. We would love to see that get developed, and our appearance commission and our planning department does have regulations, but owners of property do have certain rights. And Illinois is a very strong private property state, as well it ought to be. I happen to support the state's attitude on this. I do agree, in the downtown area, we have a facade improvement program so that if somebody is interested in improving their facade, like the Ace Hardware just did, they will work with an architect that the village will help provide so that we can try and get a little bit of continuity. It's very difficult because some of our properties are very old, and when a new development comes in, they don't want to make an old development, they want to make a new development with a modern structure, with the modern masonry and electricity, et cetera, et cetera. It is something that we need to continue taking a look at. Thank you, sir.
My name is Gary Delinko. I will be doing the policing of the live question section.
You want people downtown, you need a first-class ice cream parlor. Anybody can afford it, and they'll walk around. And secondly, you need a place like Poochie's. You need a joint, not where they sit down. When they come in, they go out, they walk around. Doesn't cost a lot, really good French fries, and you'll get people on Oakton.
I would love to see us get one in the downtown area. There is, the mom and pop ice cream stores, they're not around anymore. We have one on Oakton, actually just down the street from us, I think, east. It's a Village Creamery, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Very nice people. I would love to get something, because I think what you're talking about isn't Oakton Street east, you're talking about Oakton Street west of Skokie Boulevard.
Downtown's got to be a downtown.
And I would love to see us get something along those lines, and we are working on that specifically.
My name's Bob Katzman.
Oh, my name is Diane Hardy. We've lived in this community since 1990, and we are homeowners in the Fairview area. My question is in regards to this issue that seems to be growing as a result of our economy and people unable to sell their homes who decide to rent. And I have personally been involved in this type of thing myself because I have a home that is right beside me that continually rents to multiple families. We understand that this is necessary because of the rents that are required because the home is large, but we feel that it has really negatively affected the area. It brings in a lot of crime. It really just adds a lot of non-aesthetic issues, and we're wondering what you would like to do about this.
It is something that is being addressed by our village manager in our corporation council. As I mentioned before, we are a very strong private property state, and we cannot pass a law telling somebody they cannot rent their house out. But we are looking for ways in which we can regulate it, because if I understand, if I heard you correctly, what you're talking about is multiple families. Correct. And that is something, in fact, that we are
extended
actively.
Multiple families.
Yes. We've had discussions on this. One of the problems with it is how in an ordinance would you define family, and it would pass muster in the courts. What we're looking at is, instead of that, because I don't quite frankly know how we would do it. I'm not an attorney, but that's what they tell me. The other thing is to take a look at it on the number of people from a safety point of view, fire safety, in a certain square footage. And that is something that we are taking a look at. It is a problem, you're absolutely right, and we've got to find a solution to it.
It also taxes our schools.
Yes, it does.
It taxes our garbage. I have a family next to me that has 8 people living in a home. The garbage is overflowing.
Hi, my name's Angie Hankus, and I wanted to ask if you've reached out to the high schools and asked them specifically why they're cutting classes and why they are laying off teachers who have been there for 10, 11 years and have dedicated their lives to Skokie.
I first learned about it before, not last night, but the village board meeting 2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. The school board was meeting that night. I hadn't even heard of that until just before the village board meeting. Our village manager told me that he had heard about it. I'm assuming that the district is doing it for budgetary reasons. I do not know. I do talk to the superintendent on a fairly regular basis. I will certainly inquire of her. It's a separately elected board. The village has no authority over what the school does, but I will make an inquiry.
I'm a little biased because I was one of the teachers who were let go.
I'm
and
sorry.
I have my family here in Skokie, and we've dedicated our lives to Skokie. And now we're thinking about moving. And
I
it's
hope you
very
don't.
unfortunate. Yes, I hope I don't as well.
It's unfortunate for us.
The mayor is right that the school board acts independently. It's not governed by the village, but I would assume that, did they tell you that it was a budgetary reason as why they let these teachers go?
Well, there's two different sides, and they are trying to be financially responsible and not let their expenditures exceed their revenues. But then on the other hand, we're being told by other organizations that the school does have over $110 million in their budgetary reserve, and they're one of the most financially stable schools out there. So there's two different sides. People are confused. Parents are confused.
Well, I will tell you that the school's budget is a public information, part of the Public Information Act, and is readily available by anybody who wants to see it. So you could see that, and I'm not citing either way because I don't have all the information, but I will tell you that it is something that you can look at.
Hi, I'm Kathy White. I am an aging resident. And I'm actually not going to ask the aging question. I'm going to ask the future question. I'd like to know what Skokie administrators are looking into in terms of providing energy independence.
We have an environmental committee that in fact is reviewing village ordinances to see what we can possibly be doing that we're not doing. So this is an area that we are looking at. It's an area we've got to be careful about. One of our neighboring communities just ran into a very serious problem because they require all new development in excess of X square footage have I think it was a silver lead, if I remember correctly. And I only got this through the newspapers, but a major developer told the city, if we don't get an exemption, we're not coming to your city. And we got to be very careful about balancing economic development with the environmental. The police department, for example, is going to be a silver LEED building, which will be one of the few in this area. But we are reviewing village ordinances with what you're talking about in mind.
Do you mind if I rephrase the question?
Not at all.
I was actually asking specifically about projects that might provide green energy to residents.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Alternatives.
I beg your pardon.
Energy production.
We don't at the moment. Quite frankly, we don't have the expertise and we don't have the money to get into the energy business. Certainly, if you have some information, I'd be glad to receive it and take a look at it.
Are there ways that residents can get involved in that, in looking into that?
Sure. Give me a call and I'd be glad to work with you.
Good evening, Mayor. Cindy Gonzalez Latin, 22-year resident. Kind of related, environmental, and also what you were saying about gas being in the $4.50 to $5 range in the next few months. I would like you guys to, I think the bike path that you have proposed, that should be prioritized and move forward. But I would also like to suggest, and this is something that a group of us moms called your office about a long time ago, and I'm going to bring it up again. And that is, we live, it would be Old Orchard Road and the K Streets around just west of Crawford, that area. And as you know, Memorial Park is on the south side of Old Orchard Road, and Westmoreland Golf Course is on the north side. We need to have a bike path, a sidewalk, or something going down Old Orchard Road. It would be great for those of us who live in that area to walk to Old Orchard or ride our bikes, but not only that, I have seen, since I go back and forth down Old Orchard Road many, many times a day, lots of kids walking from the high school or walking from even the Old Orchard Junior High and going to the apartment buildings that are by Skokie Boulevard. It's a safety hazard, and I really, we've asked for this a long time ago, like I said, and I really think it needs to be prioritized and something needs to be done there. And when the snow was out, I saw people actually walking on Old Orchard Road with cars whipping back and forth, and there was nowhere for them to be but in the street. So I ask that you seriously consider that.
Thank you. We will.
First name Lijo, last name Joseph. I live at 5113 Elm Street. The comment I recently read in Skokie Review, a comment Mayor made that when the Dow Jones reached 12,000 points, there will be a wealth effect, and that will change the economic aspect of the country. After a week he said that, Alan Greenspan, the former Fed chairman, said the same thing. So he might have heard what he said, and he said the same thing.
I'm not as smart as him.
So what I'm saying, what I'm trying to comment is about the wealth effect. I live at 5113 Elm Street in Skokie. When I look at my property value in Zillow.com, it has come down by about 45% from the 2006 level. Another property at Main Street, between Skokie Boulevard and Laramie, Kilpatrick, it came down, the townhouses, the property value came down by 50%. So we are trying to get economic activity around the shopping malls in Skokie, but people don't feel that wealth effect because their property values are going down by 40, 50%. So even we are buying all the shopping malls and keeping it, but if people don't have that money and that wealth effect and the urge to spend, we are not going to get that commercial activity. So what I want to suggest is, since we are buying some of this big commercial activity, why don't we buy some of the distressed properties in the Skokie village? It's it's a lot of commitment. But if you make just a comment that we are going to look at some of the highly distressed property, it may help to bring up the value of our Skokie property. If it goes down this lane, it will be very hard to bring our economy back in Skokie neighborhood. So the comment I want to make, you are ahead of Alan Greenspan in explaining to us the wealth effect. Why don't we do some suggestions? I know it's hard, we need money, but just to get just an initiative in that aspect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Seymour Schwartz. I have to add a little comment here about Mr. Greenspan. You are a hell of a lot smarter than Mr. Alan Greenspan.
Oh, no.
His standing with professional economists, because of his role in events leading up to the economic downturn, is not only negative territory, it's down the tubes. So you're a lot smarter. Don't agree. Speaking for myself, I'm very grateful for your participation here because I thought I knew a good deal about the village, but I really learned a lot from this, and I also suspect that with this large audience here, there is no better way for people to understand the village, to vent their feelings, to inform you and your other colleagues on the board than by attending firsthand a session like this. Regardless of board meetings, Skokie Review articles, this seems to be, I think, the most important way for people to be involved and understand. That's what I suspect.
Hear, hear.
Having said that, rather than a question, I have a very brief comment. I think there are two things that would make downtown Skokie a very populated area with traffic. One in the daytime and one in the evening, and they are sure winners. Both these suggestions are fraught with a lot of problems that I won't get into because of time, and maybe impossible to pull off. Downtown Skokie during the daytime would boom with people, particularly from surrounding villages or towns, as well as Skokieites, if you got a Trader Joe's here. In the evening, downtown Skokie would be booming with people probably just from the village, but maybe outside, if you attracted, and you would have ancillary businesses following that if you attracted a multiplex cinema. Again, I could think of 1,000 different problems with doing those two things, but those are two surefire successes to solve your problems of downtown Skokie.
Hello, Vicki Wolfinger. I've been living here for about 5 years almost, and I really wanted to move to Skokie because I truly think it's a gem. It's multicultural. It's such a unique city, and I'm very proud to say that my children are growing up in this city. However, my concerns are why it is that Oakton, for instance, as we all sit here, we're staring out at beer signs. Why Oakton is lined with thrift shops, liquor stores, and that's pretty much it. We can't attract anybody to come to this town if this is what we have staring at us. So my concern is why are all of these stores opening up that are kind of ruining the image of Skokie?
I share your concern. Part of the problem is zoning. We cannot deny a use arbitrarily. In other words, if an area is zoned a particular way and somebody decides they want to rent their or lease their property out, we are very much restricted by the courts and by state law. We can't just say arbitrarily, we don't like you. It is something that we are continually taking a look at. I can tell you that I share the concern that you've expressed, and we are trying to take a look at that with all of our zoning.
Yeah, I know that there's some, I guess you can't have a lot of these signs in the windows that are, you know.
We have an ordinance.
There are some ordinances on
Yes,
that, so why can we see the beer signs driving down Oakton and we don't see, you know, hair salons or, you know, I think we need to be much stricter with these signs and allow the other business owners to advertise more freely. But I agree also with the Trader Joe's. Absolutely, we need a Trader Joe's here.
We have, in fact, we've talked not just to Trader Joe's, but we have spoken to Trader Joe's. They want 5 acres of property. All grocery stores today, that's what they want, 5 acres of property. They want it, the grocery stores today are huge. If you go into any of them, what they offer, the storage area plus their parking. But we have talked to Trader Joe's, and they have told us that they are not interested in expanding at the moment because of the economy. But I like the way you and Seymour think.
Yeah, I think this is an opportunity, especially
you.
because they couldn't get into Evanston. And it's an opportunity
Yes.
for us to get that store in here so we could attract people from Lincolnwood. I can tell you, I drive to Glenview, which is silly.
I
So
know
my
that-
tax money is going
Yep.
there.
Yep. You're right.
My name is Dennis Clark. I lived in Skokie for 10 years. I lived at 8109 North Kenneth. First, I want to say I appreciate the responsibility of the local government here. I think it's tremendous. Anyone that looks at what happens in Cicero or any of these other towns, I think we're very fortunate to have such good leadership. The one area that I was been somewhat frustrated is in talking about green technology and environmental. Part of that is eating locally, and I used to tap my sugar maples in front of my house, and the city forester told me I couldn't do that. I'd also like to keep chickens. There's currently an ordinance banning that. Evanston has just lifted their ban on chickens, and I wonder if the board would consider something like that for, you know, small. I'm not talking cattle, but you know, bees, chickens, pygmy goats, that kind of thing.
We'll take it up with members of the village board. I have to tell you, you caught me off guard. I tried to think what the questions could be tonight. Mr. Clark, this is one that you caught me. Yes, ma'am.
Well, my name is Raina Nussbaum, and the people on the stage, except the gentleman at the podium, doesn't know me, but the rest you know me. And I'm not going to start giving a history. I've lived in Skokie for 43 years. And for the last 5 years, it has been a disaster for me. And unfortunately, I had to come here today, as sick as I am, because when I requested a meeting with official at the village, I was totally rejected. And I was turned to an assistant, a secretary, and the secretary said to me, I will never get an appointment with the person that I wanted to talk to. I know this is not happening recently, but I knew it's going to come time that I'm going to be able to speak, because I also went in front of the board and I was not allowed to, not given the right to speak, because I was told we got a meeting to go to after 9 o'clock in the evening. I feel that Skokie has I've lived here 43 years. I've raised 3 kids on my own. I lost my husband and a long, long time ago, and I never, ever asked the village or anybody there to help me or do anything for me. And the last 5 years, it's been hell for me. I'm sorry to have said it. I'm sorry to bring it up, John, but I knew I'm going to eventually have a voice. And I was glad that Skokie had Lisa brought up this organization. I wish it only would have happened 5 years ago. Because I'm alone, I live in fear of the Skokie police, and John knows what. If he wants to bring it up, that's fine with me. And there's nothing that I can do about it, because I don't have the money to pick up and move, because I would have. Because the last 5 years has been hell for me. And thank you for listening to me, because I'm all alone. And I'm sorry, John, if I had to bring it up. I'm sorry?
Mrs. Nussbaum and I,
right.
You and I have talked
numerous
times. We've met in my office numerous
right.
of times.
Many a time.
And there are some issues
right,
that
exactly.
that you have not agreed with the village's decision.
Right,
on.
absolutely. And
Nussbaum,
the only reason was,
Nussbaum,
if we want to go into it, is because I could not afford
Mrs.
to hire
Nussbaum,
a lawyer
we'll talk about
and
it.
help me.
Give me a
no,
call,
it's
and
not
then
a
we'll talk
matter.
about
I'm
it.
not going to bother you, but the thing is, you see, you're cutting me out too. And I'm sorry. I mean, I don't feel, I came here and I'm sick, but I wasn't going to miss this meeting. And I'm sorry, Mayor, because I do know you from private situation, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I feel that I was mistreated in every way, shape, or form. And I also believe that the village does not give the respect. Is this article that I read, this is why I found the Skokie Boys, that it says the old boys club. And that's how is the absolute, name to say it. Because it seems like in the last 20 years, the village is only interested in young people with young kids, so you could fill the schools up, so you don't have to close more schools, like Fairview had to do. And, but I knew that, I know I'm going to be cut off, because it's not the nice thing that most people...
Whether it's nice or not, it's fine. I have no problem with that.
I know I'm going to have repercussion, no doubt about it.
I want to let Mr. Lockerbie talk for a minute. Just give him a chance to respond.
Okay.
Whether it's your concern or wants to meet with you, so please let him have a chance now to respond.
Okay.
Mrs. Nussbaum, you and I have talked through a number of issues that you've had. Unfortunately, we've agreed on some, and some of them we have not agreed on. And I apologize that you have not been satisfied with the answers, but we can continue to dialogue about those issues. You have my number, or you can make an appointment and we'll meet. Thank you.
I'm going to make a statement. I did not plan on doing it. First, I want to thank the mayor and Mr. Lockerbie for putting up with all this and for being open. Part of the reason I got involved with Skokie Voice is what I call my definition of elected officials. It's accountability, transparency, and openness. Whether people agree with answers or not, they should never be dismissed, and they should never be not wanted to be sit down with. And I'm not taking any sides because I don't know the story. But I will say that Skokie Voice is here, and I will tell anybody that if you have a problem getting in touch with anybody in the village, to contact us. Because we want openness, transparency, and good government. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. If you have any questions, email me or give me a call at the office. I will always get back to you. You have my promise on that. Can't promise you you're always going to like the answer, but I will be honest with you. and we will do our best. Thank you very much.
First, I want to thank Mayor Van Duzen for being our guest speaker, along with John Lockerbie. Let's give him another hand. On behalf of Skokie Voice, I want to thank all of the residents and business owners and the public officials here tonight, all of the trustees who came out, Terry O'Lean, Ann Tennis, everybody from the village. Pat Hanley was here, Scarpelli, Sergeant Lopez. Thank you for coming and participating in tonight's forum. We will hold our next community forum in the spring, and we'll post updates on our website at www.skokievoice.org. One of the things we want to do at Skokie Voice is to continue to have these types of forums so that this dialogue continues, because this is how, again, Skokie's going to be the #1 suburb on the North Shore. And if you're not already on our email list, you can give us your contact information tonight on those sign-up sheets before you leave. The girls back there are raising their hands. And of course, I have to give my pitch. If it goes, it goes without saying that if you're not already a member of Skokie Voice, we hope that you'll consider joining us. And thank you and have a wonderful night.